Okay, so let's jump right in. We're talking about one of China's most exciting young directors, Bi Gan. But the title we're using to describe him is, well, it's a total contradiction. Cinema's living fossil. Sounds weird, right? Let's figure out what that's all about. Right, so let's just get straight to the point. How on earth can a young filmmaker, someone who's actively making movies right now, be a fossil? A fossil is, ancient, a relic from the past. It just doesn't add up. So, what does this paradox really tell us about him? And maybe about cinema itself? The source material for this whole idea gives us this really beautiful, kind of cryptic clue. Trapped, but still shining. Think about that for a second. An artist who's somehow hemmed in, but manages to create something brilliant, something that glows. That's it. That's the key to understanding everything about Begon's work. Okay, first up, cinema's living fossil. And just to be super clear, when we say living fossil, we're not talking about him being old-fashioned or anything like that. Nope. It means he represents a way of making art that's become incredibly rare, a method that's almost completely disappeared in today's cookie-cutter film industry. All right, Section 2, Survivor of a Golden Age. To really get why he's so unique, you have to understand when he showed up on the scene. It's kind of wild, but his entire career basically exists because of this tiny, super specific window of time in Chinese film history, a real born in the gap kind of story. So check this out. In the mid-2010s, you get this perfect storm. Digital cameras get cheap and easy to use, and all these new film festivals for young directors start popping up. Bam! A window of opportunity swings open for independent filmmakers. And by Gan, he slips right through that crack. But here's the thing. Fast forward to today, and the market is way more standardized, way more corporate. That window has pretty much slammed shut, which makes the fact that he's still here doing his thing absolutely incredible. If you're a filmmaker, there are usually two main roads you can go down. You've got the academic path, you go to film school, you learn the rules, or you've got the commercial path. You aim for blockbusters and big box office numbers. And Bi Gan? He didn't take either of those paths. He's a total outsider. His voice, his style, it just grew out of his own poetry and the place he's from. So what does being an outsider actually look like in his movies? Well, this brings us to what we're calling the amateur aesthetic. He deliberately keeps this raw, kind of unpolished feel in his films. But hold on, it's not what you're probably thinking. And this is the absolute core of it. He's all about something called an unfinished aesthetic. So think about all those little things other directors would immediately cut. A slightly shaky camera, an actor's performance that feels a little raw, a scene that feels a bit chaotic. For Bi Gan, those aren't mistakes. They are essential. They're part of the poetry. This is 100% a deliberate choice, not some sign that he doesn't know what he's doing. And that's why this is so powerful. Right now, so many movies look and feel the same, polished until they're totally generic. His amateurism, if you want to call it that, is basically a form of resistance. It's him standing up and saying, hey, there are other ways to tell a story. There are other ways to see the world. Okay, our next point is huge. The soul of a place. You absolutely cannot understand Bi Gan's films if you don't understand his hometown, Kaili. I mean, his movies aren't just filmed there, they are born from that place. It's their DNA. It's their soul. So this gets into a really cool idea in his work. This whole concept of global time versus his time. Think about global time. It's what most of us live in, right? It's fast, it's linear, it's all about moving forward. He completely rejects that. Instead, he creates his own kind of time in his films. It's slow, it's cyclical, it's dreamlike, and it's completely tied to the memories and myths of his hometown. I absolutely love this analogy from the source material. It just hits the nail on the head. Watching his films is like hearing a forgotten folk song. It feels ancient, like an echo from a long-lost past. But then you realize, wait a second. In a world that's becoming so generic, maybe this kind of storytelling, the kind that's tied to a real place, is one of the only truly living things we have left. All right, next section, revel within the system. And this is where we hit another one of those big paradoxes. If this guy is such an indie outsider, how in the world is he working with famous movie stars and getting big budgets? Well, this is where things get really, really clever. He has this sort of three-step strategy, and it's just brilliant. Step one, he accepts the mainstream stuff, the money, the famous actors, all of it. But then, step 2, and this is the genius part. He completely bends all those resources to serve his own unconventional vision. He's not selling out. He's co-opting the system to create something deeply personal and poetic. He's using the tools of the machine to make pure art. And if you need proof, just look at what happened with his film Long Day's Journey into Night. The marketing team sold it as this straightforward New Year's Eve romance. It had a massive opening night. But then, audiences were completely baffled. They were not getting a simple romance. And that whole controversy, that big misunderstanding, proved it beyond a doubt. He is still an outsider. The system can use him, but it can't quite figure out how to digest him. Okay, so let's tie all of this together. We've been throwing this term around, but what does it truly mean to be a living fossil in the world of cinema today? It really boils down to these 4 things. 1, he's a survivor from that brief golden age for indie directors, an era that's already in the rearview mirror. 2, his whole amateur aesthetic is a form of rebellion against bland, standardized movies. 3, in a world that feels more and more the same, he is a champion for local, individual stories. And 4, he's this brilliant outsider who manages to work inside the very system he's pushing back against. You put all that together, that's what makes him a living fossil. And this is really the most important thing to get. The fossil here isn't a dead thing in a museum. It's not a relic. It's something that is stubbornly, beautifully alive. It's a living, breathing piece of a world, a way of seeing things that is disappearing all around us. And Begun, he's keeping it alive for us, one dreamlike film at a time. So that leaves us with one last question to chew on. And it's a big one that goes way beyond just Begun. In a world where everyone is starting to speak the same standard language in art, in culture, and life, who's left to write the poetry?